andu lafta men na dro wala ngage ko bawo nga duale pro ya ko bana amu na nyol ye naja fana komen si men ke no
ka mo jare tabiro da mai fanka do
si ni mol men konek no ke ala na ta ka kata wol ko no mote me alon ka ben fe jan sai anu an modol fana nge welcome yang kan bere den ta janna ani membi je wala mo kana juti fanga ka fo ko me bin to kani indata en ke no la on tete ni fo no la ani momo e fende so do ma men so mbe wala kata ke kan ala programme lu ni satal ko ma janne ko mbe tabla jamal le to Helsinki City Council la main office mbe ta jele mbe ta la dol fananto la tinol to ani orinol to ani la jamal bebe programme ko no andum barsa fana on the 30th wala ma nyen karola ke kan sabo mbe programme ba so la dame alon ko bita di am la karandingo le men yalon ko la karan kumpa men no ka business on ni safaro bundal karam abita wol to woli awod la so de men di la momo ni jita do ko la be na arju mo le fe mbe si blani wala na forumo to ba kala je momo ni so fra bu ta sembente aje bawo walli mol le wol yaje ko mole men ko mate te fo be o kala ando do bunya di la woton tol manya na pla ko anin ala lumo so mo ko awobe kala sibito wo sibito fanam de programme so la 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏 ne alon ko mbakala fundraising programme o de tabino kala be tol kala pour kanabron ka fundraise pour isabi wel natol bele be o katala nyokan mbe mune keno la mbari musolu nanyolu na musolu anin mbari ngol nim fanyolu mbe mune keno le bako pour isabi ko ni sila fanden soto me alon ka sila fandu gimati me alon ka stara lorin lato west coast ko men mol sapo ko Finland ko le lafta ngo xamole ben andon sonta ko atol la ke kende ani muskende al be nyame inte wo inte fel yo nimba kala mo jamala na wala biya ne kunun na pati to jang mo men na de almost 300 so dai ni do for la kala na 400 so bawon tol da jamal bi so alinga kata na fo moli kibaro ni ajel jandi do mol ka moy ni amoy do roy binal ban ni ma janjandi mol ta moy ite dolon do fanay dolon then it becomes a group bari nimbe ko ba ya fa jana hanni manten albe alon hanni kata dam polo janni nimbe be bina kata dam la nimme yeje ten ninte ma kala wala so buto ninam poti
yeah, Uncle Keba, I have a question.
Yes.
Yo lafte ñinen kalale ama abitala damen yini satel min fo luñ jumalem de jumala abitala anu fanan fale selection ole ke mol munu bitala fo allafta la fanan pour modole kafal kan fo ko min ka fo kono jam fo mo la fe pour ka kafal kan fo pour eji fanan fo no ay senia mo ste lungol fanan lo
sai membe ko irina wala ambita Helsinki mayo la office mbita o Helsinki la mayo mbita je o bekala on the 22nd mbita bekala 2 o'clock bari wolier request kele alia bring a booking ke dron asiata karifula e ko fo nga name list di because dem security blood a name list di no bari hanaka di se falin do ke no le natra ko most of the list ko no community because do ko ke nya mo be buka kanano anu nga very good link le soto there me ya lon ko ni nga o link ko contact dron be name
change la no
so ni nga tara ko be mo ni kala men ni la di tolu di ani men yalla ko on the 22nd is chance so no woli fa ni atara ko lungo nyimbina kam modo so ka kon tela inde ta do ko wala isadio o mari tan ta fon on the 28 lemba nyanda kala yo al lumale on the 28 lemba on the 28 nyanda kala yo al wala union of workers union wala union balem itolem the second largest union in Finland mbita on ta fon nyanda kala wo tole bari nata bay fenne nata suddenly do kubla karole ko nyefo ngata on so ntata no kono so ntata bo taw listo kono which means modo si wotano andu konton be ninta to men bitaje do konton dilan nale ni be kacha kala wol birinda bo nata janga sambo to fanane wolu they are very good and mbita SDP house le fana bar wol man de dinna folo
but that is on the 26th at the Lido 26 long Lido
and 28 le for 26 okay, then what on bitano 28 lem no tan bitano le na calendar jube ku yes askeno bar butum parasol si sotono la hadi parasol si sotono because e kaji jambe nyame be ngalo na do ko mo la do ko si do lo man sen andu yanko way don ko ya for a long time. You come in for there is no booking from it, Yankuba. There is only you call and you know what we are doing and where we are.
Habari say they told me the all mu Helsinki tality. So outside Helsinki. Okay.
They will fix it. That's what we should do. Yalam don't that Gambia. Wolem kafon na politician imam bete yefen ko bere dina meter de jang molbe falale. What is not done? Nado kulalem tolle nyanta fole what they should do. Andu nyanta fole ne aliyemen dina kono man fani lafta development. Bari nim president no bita blato mobe ikata ka fay ko te nyonne man naja. Yemen ke jam man sanene ma ke jam. Yemen fen ke jam wonta to nyaade. Même mutonya te fo ite kamenyi ni yo be so leba ite kamenyi fo ketale bang yang kubanya kamenkela ana ma kota sai min ka fay ko ite la be ke yala min ko nga lezi ndile ko ante kan sambi albaji la faranga en pantolo kunto
akata ji mi moto ko
rek wala ngari
bara ya ko ni même mo ya ko ni man kilinde okay nice la ta bla jogo na be ka
wala famu to na ta wala na mo be fanan ko Yankuba yo bar sai men bi rek mo kana ngoma ka kuma ko ak bele den dala mo bele kanyanta dan ka do be ala ko yudi fi jawo kan ni ko yudi fi abel yes la
ndebe ni tax ko
ebe wala lelo isaja se kuma ko
korda mo na mo tempo ndebe man dal na ko le kabere kabira ko
ako ate korda na mo abukajo wala la tan ni kana sa
la ko ngom ta jola ni man nan no bare bele Yankuba na dum ta ma jola
ako ba bi Yankuba na ka jola
Sama lola.
ko de jam fa na mo so ale slowly tan di mol yan se ci bi ta ñam ba jola ñam dem ga jo ko de bu ga
ba de ko bola be be kay la mo dem yer da
yalo ni ko yam ko
mpo amata jola bari mena nga jo
yo sa lamine ko be ko samana jamme ko mata ba because Yankuba ñol kabalu ni namol bo nama ko do wol kono ni muje ko mate kam nama korda namol men do andum tol be ngalon ne mbota dal men to kunu molu kam fata ba fo mol yeba namo jo andum molu hona sa Europe wala Europe dia Europe molu ila tonya fo wala sia mo kalwa ka konta bukani ke yalo min gambe ata tablo ko raba bante o buka bar jam mo kalo kene ba to andalon ko camera ba ka ko onta bukani barala dalilo men na bugat
Abada bade bule dala sute.
badi bu ko le
ban dol men bi jabbe nya ta fon ni dal fon kan na por dal ani na kene kene so ni jole nim bu ke jo ali ni jo because nim me jo area kan sulti ta no nya nyam ko balafta do ko men kala te keno because ni wo ko do man soto do ko te keno sai woto ni be kiskisro kala pour do ko ka mi do ko e nyanta ju be la ko e ba folo le fon la nyanta men kala ngaw kala ba nyanta do la damente do wala ba woto yera soto la pour ka mo ko ko ka bi nyanta men kala ye banku di ñol faram me so wala nyama ko wol faram do wala ke kan den e kana ni bar janku ba fa be wo jabila ni ko asono ari mbam men because yalo me atna nama jo faram be fenkere den nunto alkalol ka ke satel bari lama malla alkalol fangala because wole corrupt fangala andu wol be ke na politician wol atina mol ka kam fa fang pour ka tela alkalol ya ni bota village to aka kolya ina dad lal londi damen yalon ko kata nama jo official wo official fana itol fanka jube ba ngataje bar wol bu ka net la soko bar ngaji la mamme ba ke yangu ba nyole timo dati ka asamba satel ko notare bari ate fanga sako chokore ka dia wolole da andai sako ni mol la fana munen mudi isi souhaite pour yela na mol jo bawo nga ku kini longal sitano bir kama fanga to la liajo atele créata fanga be andu porda kayto to fen dole bi je mol mammello aman jogo ni ko da kay do soto alkalo da mabul is not enough nowadays we bi jere mi alon ko kata area kan sule ka kayti dol taji wo kela ko da bambandi bakala ka garantie di la ni lafta julo ta la bank fangoto pour ka ye loan di la ni ma o kayto je buka le la ko kadulo di la anda sa tra ko da be ana manke bari ka jela ko itela ni ko de italandi no la garantie sifa ka ko kayti sifa te so wodum area kan sule ka iso so wol be mu fenne me ala ko mata barka tala kala ran ko ko ya ko ba fu
ndef nang
ako na tare ko be kando kala carte fa ya ka kan tol fane carte fa bari sa important ke nte ya ko ba bari nte fe wo tu tan tolle bu because tolle banku di won tolle sa tolle bu ni tan na masa ko tan tolle diaspora ta tolle affaire ntol be mune kala pour ka itande man sakunda la control fana mu banko de won leddi and na contribution is important sometimes you know sign yanko ba ka yalo anin man dia baro bul yanko bay dia amna dia amta kam fa ko aka bole we men fonde so sa membe je wala banko de won fana ni ka se fal ko ma mbe mune kala alina jam don adama baro ma kana yuro ni no mu ta kama dron ate kana no ninga moy ko
barala invite na fengna
ay jara mo be ko ngataje na wure na bu
tebe sise kil karon karfo na sama
abalo na ko important ibaje bi na ta man hani ka ko tele singa kile aman na da ni ku jawo ke mol
ne te tol be bu define
andum tol mu ba ko wol tol sa welcome no janne ko ngal yakko ba welcome na man na pression no bar ni aja te fa bu kala alon na ko tinyaro men ka men lahida men nuke wala na katara so be na bukala ni tata koribe keba sabal waran buba ture waran yankuba waran ismaila boy koribe afala ne bismillah ka tum akilo tata dame yage so alinga pare ngaje ko webo alin tolle sabono yankuba mu kilinati we are more than 40 here so tolle la voice powerful than him, you know. So let's try to work on this. And let's speak about it in our forums. Let's fight against it. It's our right.
Welcome your product.
Yankuba, apart from is more than 5,000. Omu problem balti ntol bebe kampare kamo ani baro fananga be kampare kamo maybe you can get down some of these things yes ako dos dino la ko to la biri na ta foloke we see some effect there geni nge mobe content an mole moto je ngala sila sinya kile kon to loda atale nena man bar sa fama dalde bukaje de dol buka ngala siwai
yes
Naje Brikama, Seto, Yeje Tamale concentrate. What's Costa Roma Seto? Because if you say that all those places now, all of them go to Costa Roma market, then it's not like Brikama. But Costa Roma Seto, the planning was too wrong. Maybe now we are that to Marseille before. If you watch the cooking ingredient people make up so it is slow. So nin figure is slow cutting because of nin mini catare series. You can't do main boy, you can't know me think all like a slow cutting. You can't come on motor more cathedral. You can't get more catam because slow down. So in Japan, you like a because there is an important place. Because in Ajibi, even Senegambia, you are the Canadian. So they pretty Canada, you like a the second one, they come in to spirit mutual. You are the car jewel. Even Jack, the car jewel. So I end up only plant every month, every year, you have to be called up on a new car jewel. because someone get free. More kana mina ko is free because jai kajo. Kajo every here. They are not going to plan.
Don't forget to go by the file.
It's not free because Gambia can be of anything is free. Even Joe Aman get free. So Aman get free. So no also.
Okay, Namra Yankube Yala Kumomo. For our Australian guests, we are very sorry because there are a lot of important questions here. But your husband will help you to translate some for you.
Thank you.
But there are tough questions, and here we are very realistic. Our party is very realistic. They are saying some of the problems that we expect from our chairman and some of the lands, and he's going to answer to all.
Thank you.
Modole Kumado Sorba.
The point in Amanda Basla, Brickham Area Council, is going to be based on UDP. That in New Warden Kono, UDP, any person may go UDP come. More deals will come. People are not happy with the party. The party is so maybe young please allow for a call. Imagine na certain audios or certain videos from UDP. Almamita Lawrence stage oka. Another email from both of you.
It's a very
yeah, but even it's old, it can old from both someone inside because Yaron be Pango ko dimbajo mo ambe sando o malo muno old and new ni ni moye ka fo ko moye ko tag ko na may ko di nyina ni belo ko mo fo ye jam fo may ko ye kacha ye na ye nyomo ye na ye fintina because it all used against us ko ka mo provo patio dum yala ni dara fo patio kanu akadimi ba ke la sedenti do ka mo professional level sedenti do you know.
Yeah, some of those audios you can't control them because you are not in the same group with them. That's very important. Well before 2021. Well before 2021 you can also. So but it's only now it's right time connecting audio black no makai tan ko ni mu audio kotol bawo bira kana ta drong ita control no andu yaje ngaba mo batan do la camera ngol be ta radio Gambia de DRTS ata ya ka do but sa DRTS jamal be ke no formal DRTS leti and they are very powerful. Well, it ba ila audio ka powerful le ninge je do ngabule no ma ke busa do ko ni audio kalam tawol ko ngalon ka fi ta wat kar de bo be nga ngi di bam wala be sona bari yok ma ko ma bala
yo ntanga nyenen karo soto yang sel
na nyoso please na nyoso
Very important. Definitely. Not all of Definitely.
And money no the chance to say. This is why I walk like people. More money starta. The dual. All the dual job the more. No sudah all the from. All the money. All the kind of dual.
Usman Usman ya marole ke anata ni ngaro ne suro kuna na watu wataka ko sunyaro andum kumbano waram fero nyanta la ko ka je ko ni ka te finala ni o sunyaro ka dinama e lo wo ekale ko mala ko moto yes namra sai adi fananga dia moso
aba safekan ni mambo badibo aba safekan yo Yanks
diam demanding then model fanang boy ni karol ni kacat minimum kacat this program's name is the similar to Helsinki and kaca
yo Yanks ntala nyinen karo bitala mento because nga mo jamal le jamuni yanako idunta problem okono mimbu ko korda ko ika kordata ika wafuima andonia wafuima iko kata area council ika 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏 daje andonia 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏 daje everything with signature everything but at the end of the day akatara kordanya ya wafu mo nani la wara mo sabala so adiamo nyin kanasia then at the end of the day ni tata court ama ika fere ko komin sangite ba jola no nyaade la atara maybe te 2 million bondi wo kordanyin kono so bina wo kordanyin jola nyamen abuke kudo nyimbuka ne mari nafa at the end of the day fa ibuka na la kudo nyin fanan soto so for area council fanan ika wo fanan korosi kule ban komini be kordanyin mo natana nje ka kordasan foytul fanan ay ka wo korosi ro kele bankato mo jama bi surtout tubabu do jamul bi janne ika kodo ta ka kafun pour que korda sang yana korda sa ya taraw korda ya wafu mo nani la wara mo sabala so at the end of the day ita kana luisi la korda la andun kubu kana boji ngamo jamaaje miyala nako in India muta akola they are still victim about okola andun niaje mbeddi am kan akola because a sotota West Coast do aman soto ila time wala bari do ta sotota ila time on konole so atul fanal be mun sing fa nyala ta kan pour ko kusi fa nyin ta ka stop ni mona tanan korda sound alka mun investigation si fa ke fo nyin korda do for still now ama wa funo dola fa ya wa fudola ban fa ma wa fudola because small be rules kan ila kodola be ngalo no jam momo bijang e be yan ko ikela kodo soto nyame anta fole no ita fa because ite ibanun tubab dole ya lon ko mulka awaso do ko nyame so wala mun tala nyenen karoti
I experienced the night karo Gambia kono e mol kana bidi ko to ikini ke ka ko na mu josi so na mu joji imo sabal do mun na pira ko so ana kay ko ko na mu josi ko jellem ko je 10,000 na se jor na Africa area council kay 10,000 no kay ko ta Friday ngana so after that ngana nebo so ngana nebo ni ka minna bidi ko ben dawala kay ko yele ni jole ba ko je ko ha nga jole kay jelle jo kay 5,000 de jo kay sai
ita mo malangol to wala yaten
malong ko 10,000 no jole de nyaadi de 5,000 no jo so de malong ko ya bu bañol malo yewo organize nyaadi de ko num bidi ko wada sta bidi ko la sai so le ko business so la waro lo fano ko so ni to na ka to le ko bidi ko yidi ya ko be nan kam le jo so na yin garo
yang buat sebelah isu kematan kampung pulau di Darli Subah.
Okay. So, follow. Lembe salam la. Greetings to everyone. And then warmest greetings from the Gambia and from our party leader, the party executive, and the whole membership of United Democratic Party in the Gambia. We say greetings, but we also say thank you for the welcome accorded to us, not only here, but the whole of the Scandinavia. The visit couldn't have happened without the support we had from this chapter, Finland chapter. This whole travel to Spain, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and then here Sweden, Norway, and then Finland couldn't have happened without it being initiated by the Finland chapter and also being sponsored by Finland chapter. So based on that, I want to seize the opportunity to thank every member of this chapter, starting from the chairman, Alaji, and everyone else. And then after that, I also want to seize the opportunity again to thank you for the support that you have rendered to my campaign, both cash and kind, to make sure that I got elected as the chairman of Brikama Area Council. I want to seize the opportunity to thank you. So, firstly, I'm very, very happy to see so many people who are part of the Finland chapter. I mean, if I hadn't been here, I wouldn't know that the Finland chapter had this many people, you know. But nonetheless, from the outset, it has always been, we've always been in touch with Bob Toure. I'm so Adam Barrow will say Finland chapter is probably the biggest because they are one of his biggest critics. But Barrow's #1 critics are part of this chapter. And then to get Yanks Darboe part of that, I think State House, they wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. But I am really, really happy to be among your midst today and for the welcoming accorded as well. The lunch is delicious and it was great. One thing I've noticed in Scandinavia, you have a lot of food. You know, I went to Denmark, they gave me a lot of food. I said, hey, you got to take it easy. I don't want to fill myself up too and get used to it. And then when I go back to Gambia, I'm not able to get that kind of food. You know, but thank you very much for the welcome. I'm indeed very happy to be here. Lanj Sonkonche would say this is the heaven on earth. and I am happy to, I can tell that it is heaven on earth indeed, and I'm happy to be in heaven on earth.
Thank you.
So I think after that, I must commend Bob Toure and the whole executive here as well, the Finland executive, for bringing the Gambian community together. See, and then also for all the support that you have been doing for the United Democratic Party. I want to say something about that because, you see, the Gambia, let's start with West Coast first. Before we came into West Coast, it was having a lot of challenges. And then when we got there now, we are getting it somewhere. We are not out of the woods yet, but we are at least on the part of that recovery or on the part of that escape, to get out of a council that was gripped by corruption to somewhere where people can have a bit of hope and then able to get some form of service as well from there. I think that is, it couldn't have happened without your support. So no matter how little that support was, whether it was 50 euros, 100 euros, 30 euros, that amount is able to make such a huge difference to so many lives in the Gambia. That's why we should never underestimate this, whatever support we are making towards the success of our party. So that difference is only registered at the local level. Imagine what we could do if we are able to take over the affairs of the whole country on national issues. There's so much we can do, so much. And at the moment, that is not happening. We are in a country where we are being led by someone who is visionless, doesn't have a vision, and he doesn't have a sense of direction as to where he is heading the country to. So that means that we, as the diasporans, you know, in the Gambia, we have high hopes in our diaspora. And the reason why we do have that is because you guys have been helping. And we have to commend you for that. You never sigh or you never run away. Whenever we knocked on your door and say we need help, you always been helping. And all we ask for is that help to continue up one, but to double up for the next 2 years, especially the 2026 upcoming elections, because we cannot afford to lose that. We have to make sure we change the direction of our country and we change the leadership of our country. And the only party that represents change is United Democratic Party. Let's not joke about it. Voting for Barrow or NPP is not change. It's a continuation of the status quo. And that status quo is unsustainable. At the moment, the prices of just basic goods are going beyond the reaches of average Gambians. That is not sustainable. So we've got to do something to change that so that we can be able to at least mitigate so many of the challenges that our people are facing on the ground. And we can do that. And with our help, with your support, we can be able to make that change. And politics cannot happen, or it cannot be done without funding or without finances. And this is not only unique to Africans or African nations. We have seen just recently when Kamala Harris was declared as the candidate for the Democratic Party in America, within a matter of days, people volunteered out of their own pocket and donated the Democratic Party there, and they were able to raise over $300 million. And that's United States of America, with all the modern facilities you can think of. But the people in those countries are not saying, I don't care who happens to be our next president, because all our basic needs are met. Ours, they are not even anywhere near being met. So I think if America, with all the amenities that you can think of, are still dipping their hands into their pockets and paying more to see that they're able to register progress through voting and through putting different political presidents of their choices, I think we should do a lot more, because we are in a deeper hole. We are in a black hole at the moment, trying to find our way out of it, simply because of the leader that we have. The leader doesn't know his responsibilities and his obligations to his people. So, and he lives in denial of the challenges, the myriads of challenges that his citizens are facing on a daily basis. Such a leader, no country can afford to continue with such a person. So this makes it more incumbent on us, especially us in the diaspora, who are able to afford a bit more than those in the Gambia. In the Gambia, they're also doing their part. Every member of the party is paying, I believe, $5 every month, and that is about $60 a year. So people are trying to pay in as much as they can. So I believe it is happening here, but if it is not, I will implore on everyone to also think about contributing whatever amount you can contribute on a monthly basis, so that the coffers of Bob and the executive can always have something. Because when we knock on their door, sometimes it's on emergency basis. We don't give notice. We just knock and say, Bob, we are desperately in need of money. Can you help us? We always hope that we will get something from here. And I must thank you. We always get something. It's never been a time when you knock on the UDP Finland chapter, they said, oh, go away, we have no money here. They always provide. And of course, this is the heaven on earth, so if you want to get a blessing, you have to go to heaven. So with regards to the questions that were raised by the people, I think I'll go through them and try to answer in as much as I can. And then after I'm done with English, I will try and speak in Mandinka as well, so everybody can understand. So the issue of waste collection, yes, that is our #1 problem, you know. And the reason why that has been the problem, you see, the problem we have in West Coast has been perennial. It's because
successive councils have not been invested. They've been collecting revenue, but they were sharing that revenue among themselves. Corruption was our #1 problem. Still is a problem, but one bold step we have taken is to stand up and say, this council is corrupt, and we are going to do everything to end it, to eradicate it completely. And now, so far, we have done a lot. Because this year, for the first time, we were able to raise enough money to be able to disburse some funds to every ward in our region. And that amount that we've given out is not enough. We want to give out a lot more. But we also embarked on assessment of all our revenue sources so that we can have a proper inventory or data of everything. Because when we inherited that council, we didn't have short data existing. And without data, you cannot make an informed decision. You cannot know how many trucks you're going to need in order to be able to collect waste, let's say around Wellingar, because you don't know how many households are in Wellingar. These are the challenges we have. So we are now doing those data collections. And then whilst doing that, we are also assessing the values of the properties and then the right rate that the property, the owners are supposed to be paying to council. Because you find that we happen to be the biggest with more problem than any other council, yet we are charging the lowest rate in the whole region. Most people are paying only $150 in a whole year. You know that is not sustainable with all the challenges that we have. The way we estimate it is that 𝒃𝒏 currently, when it comes to development, we need almost about $100 billion. That's what we need to start development. And guess how much our budget is? It's only $1 billion or less than $1 billion. So you can imagine how long it would take us for us to meet all the development needs of the region. So when we talk of 𝒃𝒏, we talk about the whole region. So you look at Banjul. Banjul is, you can have almost about 100 Banjuls in West Coast. It cost them, they said, $33 million to pave the roads, all the secondary roads and all the other roads in Banjul alone. That's $33 million. Multiply that by 60 something. Then you know how much money they spend in Banjul alone. But we have so many Banjuls in West Coast. We have 𝒃𝒏, we have Sukuta, we have Busumbala, we have Lameng, we have Brufut, we have Bijulo, we have Kersering, we have Sanchaba, we have Wellingar and Nema Kunku, Sincho Alaji, so many. You can start naming them until dawn. You won't finish it. And all those places need to be developed like Banjul or to be developed like Helsinki. Where I exemplify these things is that in here they are about 50 or 100 years ahead of us. They are in 2024, we are in 1924. you see what I mean? So sometimes some of the things that they feel like are not really, they are out of date here. When that comes to us, it is in 1950s, and we are still to 1924, trying to catch up to 1950. So that's why reaching out, coming here, and I'm glad that when I had that discussion with Bob and Alaji, that's where it was initiated. Then we had another discussion with 𝒂𝒏 and 𝒑𝒐𝒏 in December, and then from there, this whole trip, or the concept of this trip was born. So, waste management, big challenge for us, waste collection. And I think 𝒂𝒏 asked the question, you started collecting it and then now somehow it stopped. What we did is, because when we came in, we knew that we didn't have the necessary equipment or the requisite equipment to be able to collect or to provide waste collection or effective waste collection services within the region. So what we then do was to invite or partner with private waste collection companies. Unfortunately, we don't have many of them in the Gambia. And the few that we have have very few vehicles. You see what I mean? So we started with some, and then somewhere down the line, unfortunately, the vehicles that they also have are not in good shape. So when we started with the vehicles, before we realized we couldn't even finish the last rainy season, most of the vehicles were grounded. Some of them, they would go to collect in some neighborhoods, and the big problem is because our roads are not paved, most of the vehicles that are available there are brought from Europe, and they're designed for European roads and not our muddy roads. So when you send them out in the rainy season, they get stuck in the mud. That became a real big challenge. Some of them were stuck in the mud for the whole of the rainy season before they were able to pull them out. So that became our biggest problem. And as a result, we started having fewer vehicles to almost having, I think, 1 or 2 vehicles. And in the meantime, we as a council ourselves didn't have our own vehicle. So that's why this year we made it our priority to procure new vehicles. So we wanted to have vehicles that are wheeled ones, that are able to ply these muddy roads and able to collect even in the rainy season without getting stuck. So we are in the process of that, but just like everything else in the Gambia, everything runs at a snail's pace. So we started it in February, we did the tendering in March, April, that was concluded. We concluded the shortlisting up to the point of identifying one supplier. Now we send it to GPPA for approval. We've been back and forth with them, and we still haven't got that approval. When we get that approval, this is the Procurement Act, because as a public body, we have to follow a procurement procedure. We have to do tendering, receive bids, and then do the consideration. And then that gets communicated, and we also get an approval from the the Gambia Procurement Authority. So we are waiting on that. When that comes in, this year we are hoping before the end of the year, we should get at least 11 vehicles. And those 11 vehicles will help in mitigating this challenge of waste collection within the region. But we still haven't got to finish the paperwork process yet. That has been taken. And you would think that they would expedite ours because of the challenges we are having and we are getting into the rainy season. But no. That is not how things work in Gambia. Sometimes they want you to go to them and you give them some money as what they will call a motivation, to motivate them to do the job that they are being paid to do on a daily basis. Doesn't make any sense, but that is the reality. So these are some of the challenges. So we are waiting and we are hoping that that process will come to an end very soon. And once we get to the conclusion of that, we should be able to get a supplier to supply us with this vehicle, and then we pay them. Those 11 vehicles are supposed to cost us $105 million. $105 million. That's a huge lot of money. And then that can only come if people are paying their rates. That's why I'm glad that Sabali said I wasn't paying, but now I'll be paying. And I'm hoping that a lot more people will also pay, because just like I said, we have so many challenges, and then we need to be able to mitigate it. But the good thing that I always said, and that which makes me a bit more optimistic, and I believe a lot of other people will find much optimism in that, is that every year now, we can assure the people of investment. You see, this place is heaven today because the people who were responsible for its development have been investing in it every year. Every year they are investing in developing Helsinki, and that's what got Helsinki and every other major city in Finland to the state that they are in. In ours, the problem we've been having is they've never been invested, and that is the reason why we've not been seeing any development, and that is just common sense. If you leave a bare earth like that, it will remain a bare. If you find any crop on it, someone must have planted that on it. If you find any structure on it, someone must have constructed that on it. And that's the simple common sense. our people will look at things and then they will build something, they would not maintain it, it would just go into the dilapidated state. And the next minute they wonder why we are not developing. It's because we are not investing in it. So with us now, every year we assure the people of West Coast of development because we want to invest. And that investment has to be recurrent. And we can only do that if people help us in paying their rates, licenses, and then daily market dues, because that's what the councils depend on in order to register development in the region. So someone mentioned about coastal roads. Yes. So coastal road is a very important market for us in West Coast. It's our second busiest market in the region. So the challenge we have in coastal road is space. You know, the whole of that area was supposed to be a market area. At least that's what the alcalo of that area told us, that was supposed to be a market. And then that land was a reserve land. It was given to 𝒃𝒂𝒏 Area Council. But unscrupulous people who were in the council before decided to sell the land to private people. A public land that is reserved for public, they decided to sell it to people. And that now meant that the space that should have been created for the market has now been, are now private homes. And what happened is the place is so busy and is such a viable place and vibrant place for market. It attracts so many people to come and sell there. And because so many people want to sell there, there is no space. That is a big challenge for us. So one of the things we are doing, we are in touch with the youths, because just behind the market there's a football field there. It's a big football field. We are in touch with the youths there. We have reached an agreement with them. We're trying to now find a land, another land as an alternative land where we will move their field to that one and add or turn that field into a market so we can move everybody that is occupying public space or occupying roads to go there and then have a space. This is what we are now looking for, and hopefully we've identified somewhere we need to engage the person, because we have a reserve land at Paradise that we can try to switch and see if that person will be interested in moving there, so we can have that big space, which is a football field, to become a market. That would at least ease this issue of people occupying the roadside. Because when we have that big space, then the market will shift to that area and it will still be within the coastal road area. So that's one of the things we are working on. And then pray for us so that we can succeed in getting the land where the football field will be moved and all the market vendors will be able to have enough space there. Because that place is very, very important to us. It's second busiest in West Coast region. 𝒃𝒂𝒏 is the busiest, and that one is second busiest at the moment. So what is the other one? Dustbins needs to pay. So we are charging with the dustbins. We are charging. We charge people whenever we collect. We charge people. We charge them for a bag of rice, 50 kg bag of rice full of waste. We charge. We were charging $15 now. We charge $20. So $20 is per bag. And then if it is a bin of, let's say, 120 liters, we charge $30. If it is 240 liters, because these are the only two sizes we have for households, we charge for that one about $50 for that one. So we are charging with that. The only problem is we don't have the vehicles to go around. So we told people, and then we promised them. We started collecting on certain days, and everybody was expecting, and they all were expecting that this would be continuous, and people would come and bring their waste on those days, get their monies ready, but we have no vehicle to collect. That is how terrible the situation is. Because remember when we came to VAC, we found that it was 10 million in debt, and then all its vehicles were grounded. And then they also have small vehicles. VAC, the vehicles, we call them 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂. They are very small. When you take them to collect waste on a street, they will collect one side of the street and they have to go and dump, and then the other side is yet to be collected. That's how small they are. Whereas if you have the big ones that KMC is having, you can collect the whole of that area and you still wouldn't be able to fill this thing. See, so that is a big challenge we are facing. But hopefully, once we get our vehicles, that would be mitigated. So the next one is voting in the diaspora. So, see, the thing I understand about the lack of voting in the diaspora is few things. I managed to engage some senior members of the IEC as to why this is not happening. Even though there was a Supreme Court ruling, it is in the laws, it is in the constitution, that diaspora every Gambian should be able to vote, regardless of where we are. The problem that they were able to explain to me, and I'm going to explain it to you, and then see whether you people would think it is reasonable or not. But this is what he told me. He said, look, we at IEC want the diaspora to vote. The challenge we have is, it's our electoral system. You know, in Gambia, we vote in a box. And that box has to have the party color and then the poster of the candidate. And that box is unique to that particular party. So we don't share the box. Each party has its own box. So say, for example, you have 10 candidates, presidential aspirants in the next election, 2026. So 10 candidates vying for the position of president in the country. What will happen is, it would mean every voting station should have 10 ballot boxes. So they're telling me now, just calculate it. If you're going to have one ballot station in Finland, you're going to have one in Sweden, one in Norway, one in Denmark, one in, let's say, Germany, or 2 or 3 in Germany. And then you're going to have it in Italy, Spain, you're going to have it in France, UK, you're going to have it in maybe in multiple states in America. He said, add that together and multiply it by 10. How many are you going to get? He said, you might end up getting 600 ballot boxes. And then if we have to put all of that in the plane, and then everywhere we get to, we drop 2, and then go to the other one and drop 10 and drop 10. He said, it's a Herculean task for us, and we don't have the budget. He said, this is our number 1 problem. And number 2, the way our electoral laws are framed is that if you vote in that box, and then it is counted, once it is counted, the tokens, the marble tokens are then reinserted back into those boxes, and the boxes have to be sealed, and they have to then be collected and returned. They cannot be tampered with, because anybody who challenges or petition that election result, the boxes have to be taken to court, sealed and untampered. I don't know whether you get it. So that means even when once you finish your voting here, they have to also come with the same plane or another plane and start collecting the 2 drums everywhere and going with it. So it's too Herculean for them. And they just think about it. In my election in West Coast, when we were having my election there, in the local authority election there, we had 9 candidates. And then they have 2,000 polling stations in West Coast. So that means they needed to do 18,000 drums or ballot boxes. And our ballot boxes are drums. And you know, our ballot boxes, you cannot design it here because it also has its own unique features. It has a bell. If you're used to voting in Gambia, if they don't hear the bell, they will call you, hey, Mr. Darboe, you better go to that police station. There is something fishy going there. I voted there, but I couldn't hear the bell. You know, so it also has to have that bell. So when they put the token in there, they hear the bell. That's when they know that, oh, my vote is, my token is registered. So that means they have to design it as a drum, bring it here. They cannot just rely on other things. So compare that to Senegal. You see, Senegal, it is not marbles, it is pictures. So you have one box here. They put it in the center for everyone to see, and they put a corner there. You come, you have 10 or 15 candidates. You take all of their pictures. Once you take all of their pictures, you go to the corner, and then you know the picture you want to vote for, or the candidate you want to vote for, and you put it in an envelope. You come outside, the box is outside, you dump it there. And that box doesn't have no unique feature apart from an entry point at the top. But apart from that, it doesn't have any bell or anything of that sort, or any collar or this and that. It doesn't. So that means you can even get a bucket from any of your local stores here and put it here and then vote on it.
But, sorry, I just want to interject.
Yeah. So you can put that box there, and then insert your pictures, and everybody can vote. And IEC doesn't need to come with a plane full of drums. You see what I mean? Everybody can buy that box anywhere, and then we put a vote there. Because when it finishes, the counting will be done in front of everybody. So it will be transparent. But this is the challenge that they said they are facing. So that's why I said I'm going to explain it to you, and then you will see whether it is reasonable or not. Because there is a lot of places they have to go to, and if they have to get all the drums, it will be very, very important. So the next thing they said, because last time that was the reason why they wanted the ballot system to change from marble to paper. But you know, when they raised that up, people in the Gambia were like, no, that's a no-go area. Because they now want to cheat us. That's what people say. People say they want to cheat us. So the question then becomes, until you change the law, which says that people in the Gambia can vote with marble and people in the diaspora can vote with a different voting system, until you're able to change that in our laws, it will be very, very difficult for this diaspora voting to become a reality. This is the big challenge. So we as Gambians have to have this discussion and then be able to convince those that are also in the Gambia, because in the Gambia, the mindset is this is how we found our fathers voting, and this is how we are also going to vote. No one is going to change that. Because I remember last time when they said, even my mom was saying, these people want to cheat. Because the way we always vote, they now want to change that. How are we going to know that this is the picture of the candidate we are going to vote for? But when you enter into the room, you see the picture on the yellow box. Although you see the yellow there, but you also see the picture there. But this is, and we've done this picture voting because when there was a Congress in 2016 to choose Adama Barrow, they went with the picture voting. That's what the delegates used to vote. So, but these are some of the things that we, as Gambians, when we get into Gambia, we also need to educate the people about, so that we start talking about this because this is very important. You know, it's very important. But what Pamudu would say, Mbanya Linyolo and other people in the local area, they find that even a lot more sophisticated. They are used to collect the marble, put your finger in the ink, go and put it in the box, and you listen to the bell. If the bell sounds, then you know that that vote is in. So if you tell them to put it in an envelope and then put it there, then they find that whole thing to be a bit more complicated for them, you know. So that is that one. And then what is the other one? People are not very happy with the UDP, the videos. Okay, so I think, yes, you're right, we are all not happy about it. But the problem is controlling media or social media is very difficult. You know, it's very, very difficult. I get people telling me, oh, these so-and-so people are criticizing you. I said, they're not criticizing me, they're criticizing the chair I occupy or the title I carry. If I don't want them to criticize, I will leave it. But as long as I am happy to be in it, let them criticize. See what I mean? It comes with the job. You cannot have, you cannot come to Finland and they lay such a nice table for you and give you such a good lunch simply because you are the chairman of BAC. And when people throw stones at you, you are saying, don't throw stone at me. It's not possible, isn't it? That's what Adama Barrow doesn't understand. You know, you cannot be a president of the country and you said people cannot criticize you. It comes with the job. If you don't want it, just give it back to them and say, I don't want this job, you have it. I'll go sit in my corner with my family and enjoy our privacy. And nobody will bother you because they have no business with you. But if you occupy their position and carry their title, you have to expect that. And that's normal. So me, when I see people criticizing, sometimes I want to read and understand. And when they said something, I said, yeah, he has a point. Because he's not happy because we are not doing this. But unfortunately, we cannot do it. We are also having our own constraint. But yes, he is entitled to being unhappy because he deserves that one. And unfortunately, we are not able to provide it. And we should do everything to provide it. So it motivates you to want to do a lot more, and you have to do a lot more. You know, that's why sometimes I don't like sitting in the office. I want to be in the field to make sure we get it done, because our people deserve that. It needs to be done, you know. Unfortunately, many people occupying public offices in Gambia don't understand that they are serving the people. They think that they are there to serve themselves. And that's why you hear the saying, but that is not supposed to be the case. So the next one is land disputes. So yes, so you know, when it comes to land registrations, the process is complicated in Gambia. And this all boils down to how our system is. You know, Gambia, what we inherited since from the colonial era, those are what we still maintained. Britain was our colonist. Britain has even abandoned the old laws that they were using in the colonial era, and they have new laws that they are now applying. But with us, for some reason, we are stuck in the past. So when Britain was colonizing us, land registrations and everything are centralized at the central government. Central government still maintain that. Britain doesn't do that anymore. You have town planning councils. When you go to any town councils, you will have their own planning department. They will be responsible for all the plans. And they are also responsible for land registrations and the land demarcations. We wish we have that at BAC, but unfortunately, it's the physical planning. So what happens is when people come to register at BAC, we have to look at certain few things. So first one is whether you have the Alcalo certificate. You see, and this is where all the problems are emanating from. Because the alcalos will give you a land transfer today, and they'll give the same land to the other person. They'll give the same land, transfer the same land to another person. And it is hard at our end to know what is exactly happening because we don't have the cadastral map. So we don't have the map of all the lands that are in our region. We depend on physical planning that have the national cadastral map. So the other thing we look for after the Alcalo one, we look for whether you have the physical planning certificate of occupancy, and then whether you also have the physical planning cadastral map with the land delineation there, and then the stamp of the CFO. We look for all of those. Once all of those are present, the council give you the BAC registration document. So the problems then becomes if physical planning become unscrupulous and the alcalos become unscrupulous, and at most of the time this is what would happen. The alcalos would give you, would do duplicate registrations. It would come to physical planning, who are just looking at the map, and then these maps are not digitalized. So they would just print it out, and then they wouldn't go back to check on the records. I don't know whether any of you have even been to the physical planning offices. If you ask for even a map, it will take them ages to search.
I have been there just last week.
Exactly.
I was at your office then.
So you see how they operate?
Yes.
They go through the files.
Yes.
So you have to have a system where if you come with the coordinates, I put it in the computer says, this is someone else's land. If you don't have that, but you have papers to look for, and most of the time they're lazy to look for this.
I even have to go to the CADIC Also, they give me another document.
So that's where you have the family dispute.
No, it's not family dispute. It's an inheritance.
Okay, so inheritance, you have to get the card.
Yeah,
exactly.
card.
So once you get all of those, that's when the councils do the registration. Yeah. So the problem we have is we want the government to decentralize planning. To town planning and everything should be decentralized. We don't need physical planning to be running all of these things. Give West Coast 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏 Area Council total that autonomy to demarcate the land. But you can see why they don't want to give land, because land now is exactly, it's a source of income. It's a lot of things. Yeah, and it's precious. Land is very precious, and we have it in abundance in West Coast. Some land say in Burfoot and everything, so they are of the view that you give it to council, they will give it probably all to their UDP people. You see what I mean? Because the way Barrow MPP government thinks, they just think everything along political lines. And that is quite unfortunate. So I think that is the last one. And then what difference can we make? So the difference we want to make, at the moment, the challenge we have is we have also assigned our own people to physical planning. And then what we are also doing through this assessment, we want to also have geolocation of all these lands, and then hopefully to also have council registration numbers for each of the compounds. So we are going to go into street naming and a whole lot of things. All of this will help us in terms of identifying these lands. And then we are also building up of our own data. So when physical planning gives us a land to sign, we can also cross-check on our own data to see whether that land is not registered or is not, someone else hadn't paid some money for it in the past. So we can cross-check that, and if that happens, then we can say, we can refer it back to them and say, this one is, there's a duplication on it on our system. You have to go and check it properly to make sure before you issue this certificate of occupancy to this person. So that is that one. I think now I can come in Mandinka now and then try to summarize it very short, and unless someone else has a question, and if everyone is happy with the explanation, we can leave it there, but if not, I can go. Everybody is happy.
The question I have, last year I came my
Yes.
After 2 months, they called, they said I didn't pay my.
But thank God you had your receipt.
After they apologized.
Yes.
So how do you deal with that?
So that is going to be addressed through this assessment now. So once the assessment is done, we have the full data. So the other thing what we want to do is we want to issue every household with a card. With your council tax card or council city council card. So that card now, in the future, there will be a portal somewhere on our system where you can enter there, and then you'll be able to see whether it is registered that you have paid or you have not paid. And then you'll be able to track it down. Because technology is where we are headed to. It helps people not to be cheated. It fights and reduces corruption. And then it eliminates all these duplicate charging and all other things in the region. So that would help us a lot. Indeed.
Okay, I have one question.
So that should be before the end of next year, I would say. Not this year, but before the end of, because this year we are currently doing the assessment of everything. That, and then once we assess everything, we are entering it into our data. Yeah. So the database now, by the end of the year, would be able to tell us, say for example, Sukuta, let's say Sukuta Nema or Sukuta Sanchaba, how many compounds are there and how many business shops are there. You see what I mean? So once we get that basic data, the next step is to go there and geolocate these particular properties. So each property you geolocate it on the Google map. So you can be able to search the geolocation of it and you are able to find it. It helps, and then it gives the dimension of the compound. So at the moment, the problem we have is if we want to go to that level of detailed assessment, we will need a lot of funding for it, and we don't have the funding. So we went for the cheapest one, and that gives us the basic assessment. And it also values the properties to their proportionate rate level. So because on the West Coast, if your property's value is more than 500, you're supposed to be paying $2,000 a year, not 1,000, not 150. Yeah. So this is what is happening. So this assessment will also help us to know how much money we are supposed to be expecting to get next year. And if we know that, then that helps us with regards to our budgeting. So we want to know, like, for example, this year we gave out 14 million towards. Next year we want to give 28 million, or we want to give 56 million. It will all depend on the data and the information we get. Because previously what was happening is we were dependent on the collectors. The collector will come to this area and they will say there is only 5 compounds there. In fact, at one point they said 𝒐𝒊𝒏 was having only 10 businesses. And the councillor for 𝒐𝒊𝒏 came back, he said, no, that is not possible. I am from 𝒐𝒊𝒏 and we have more than 10 businesses in 𝒐𝒊𝒏. Gunjur, they have only 18 businesses in Gunjur. And then you go to Gunjur, you look at all those shops, and like, how is that even possible?
Even one street is more than 20.
But you know, the collectors would come with only 16 businesses. And they will say, I have exhausted my zone. And then the rest of the money, they will collect it and go with it at home. That was the big problem we were facing. But now, if we are able to assess all the data, you see, it is hard for anyone to cheat us now. Because we know how many compounds we have in this area. So if you come with only the value of 5, we will say, no, 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 you still miss 20. Go back and collect 20. You see. So, but that was the problems we inherited. And we inherited with so many challenges. And that's why we've been left behind on many fronts, you know. And then we have so many challenges at West Coast. Because remember, we try to divide or invest our revenue in 3 ways. So one is for the recurrence. That is the administrative cost of running the council. The second is development. And third is on the welfare. We're supposed to have a welfare system where we pay people who cannot afford to get anything. And that was supposed to come from our revenue. But at the moment we cannot. So, but what we are doing this year, our welfare contribution went towards paying school fees for some of the students that are from poorer backgrounds or who are struggling to meet the cost of their education. We help those people. We paid for 300 students. We also helped a lot of people that are suffering and they needed medical treatment but cannot afford to pay for that treatment. So what we do in those instances, we don't give them the money because we realize that, you know, corruption has been so pervasive in our country that even sick people are corrupt themselves. You can give them money, they will tell you, I need 6,000 to buy the medicine and everything. You give them 6,000, they go in and they see something nice, maybe a mobile phone. They say, oh, let me pay 3,000 from there. And they will buy the 3,000 mobile phone for 3,000. The next minute, before you realize, they are admitted at the hospital because they're buying, or they will go and buy the cheapest medicine they can get. You know, they will go to these pharmacies. If they said this is expensive, they said, okay, they go to the other one, which are less in quality. And that's a big challenge. So what we do for medical treatment, we will ask you to provide us with the medical, the invoice from the hospital, and then we go to the hospital and pay it and get our receipt from the hospital. The same thing we are doing with schools. We don't give it to the students, but we take their names, they apply first, and if they are approved, we then take their names and we go to the school, we pay it at the school. And this year when we've been to some of the institutions, they're like, are you from BAC? We said yes. And they said, BAC? Is that even possible? They couldn't believe it. They were like, 𝒃𝒃 Area Council is able to pay school fees? And we said, yes, we are paying school fees. And then when we give them checks, they're like, okay, let's see whether the check will bounce or it will be clear. Unfortunately, all the checks were clear. And so we went to college. We also found that the registrar at the college was vouching for a lot of students, and as a result, he was not even able to receive any salary on a monthly basis because the college was taking all their debts from his salary, because he vouched for these students to say, give them their certificates, and then I'll pay it if they're not able to pay. So he's been doing it for so many of them, to a point that he was not able to go home with anything. And then we said, you know what, we will bail you out on this, so we try and pay that one. So that's what we, and then now we realize that next year we cannot, because this year we budgeted 3 million, and next year we have to double that to 6 million. And then the medical treatment also, we are still facing a lot of challenges. I have a child that is waiting on me at the moment, and I'm waiting on the revenue from my collectors, and that child cannot even turn his head around because he has a bone somewhere there that pierces her whenever she tries to turn her head. And you look at the fee that she needs. She is trying to get a treatment in Senegal because it's not available in the Gambia, and it is very difficult. And the father who is responsible for everything can barely meet the sustenance of the family. So these are some of the challenges we are facing. I've seen in fact, what motivated me more into helping people in medical treatment is that I saw a child that was brought to me, and the child could barely talk. And then he was in a situation when you set your eyes on this boy, you would feel for him. And then he only needed about, I think it was about 12,000 or 11,000 to buy some medication, and his family couldn't afford it, he couldn't afford it, and his situation was deteriorating on a daily basis. So the councillor brought him and said if we could help him. I said, by all means, even if council cannot do it, I'll take it from my own salary and pay for this. And then lucky enough, we paid it. And then the next, I think few months later, I asked him, I said, how is the boy doing? He said, he's playing football. And I just was thinking, this is a boy that could barely stand on that day. He could have died a few days later, and everybody will say it was his time, when his time was not yet. You know. But this is some of the challenges, and it is councils that need to do these things. See, the thing that helped many councils in the West is that the central governments, they are policy makers. They make policies, they pass the money to the councils implement it. The central governments will say, we want 200 houses built in the country. And then they will give the money to the councils will do the contract, and those houses will be built by the council. They will say, we want the roads to be done. Councils will do it. Street lights, all these things. They give those monies to the councils to implement it for them, and they regulate and monitor the councils. That's how they achieve it. But in ours, you look at even education. Education, mostly you go to the councils, you apply to the councils. If you want student loans, you go to councils. At least in UK, that's how it is done. And on my way down around, I've realized that it is similar in many other countries, even in Denmark and other places. The problem we have with ours is central government is the policy maker, and they're also the implementers. They just pass the council and do whatever they want to do. And then we're like, hold on here, what about us? They said, no, we have no money for you. You go and collect the little money. But look at the little money we collect. We cannot even get $1 billion is in the region. But central government, when they collect, they go with 10 billion or 20 billion from our region alone. And they don't give us anything back. And the money they give us is what we spend on our people. You see the challenge we have. That's why we need to change the government, so we can achieve change in so many ways. Because all our local government laws need to be changed, so that our local governments become a lot more development oriented and able to register a lot of development in our region. And then they become implementers of many of the policies of the central government. But at the moment, that is not happening. So you think about the black sand mining that is happening in Sanyang. How much is central government getting in a year? Billions and billions. But how much money are they giving us back for that place? Not much, not enough. So and then you have so many other industries that are in our region. So many other things are happening in the region where central government is making money, loads of money, but they are not returning anything back to the people of those regions. So these are some of the challenges we face, you see. Okay, so I think that addresses all the question, but if there is any other question, I'm more than happy to take them on. Carry on. Yes.
Addressing system. Because Gambia and la mira loro
address okay.
Addressing system. Tola mira loro na urban area we are also from planning.
Yes.
For a long time.
Yes.
So that is the whole country.
Yeah.
So this Gambia we get find someone on that. So we man jelo baka find someone. So it is la council ala mun plan so. Planning community work. Coming ala bi si ba di kambe kama ka fanya test.
Tesiro, yes.
Possible put a brand name.
Yes.
To the areas near and forced plans today.
Yes.
Ministry to move probably to the
yes.
Then would be a brand name on that. I will
yes.
Secondly, the majority of control from you know, not on that Gambia. And sometimes now could right, so now could not teach for sometimes it applies to it has spoken to the Namo arrest. So, man of when you more, you know, any other plan that email. Wala ni man joro kare ka alam se ni ko min joro wado si sa ko la mo ko min joro na joro fa alam se sa do na bi tan se ya yes sa ko fa be ta na ma ko la so ko ni definitely kana je na
okay baraka bake, that's a good question. Question okay, so yemin fodo kumara bagale street naming na plan no, and it is still within our plans pura that this year markeno maybe next year mbadadela. What we want to do is we want to create a little budget me alonko every area just to be able to motivate them ye nka sila kulio. So sila o sila nemo lafta katola nga fennindi la maybe e jalo haya oto e silo nyum kulle nga bodo loje nga fo nyen silo mo Lamin Manyan Road let. So bala ni ko mo le Lamin Manyan Road in Busumbala London or Busumbala tinto de Wavles nga jelon. Yes, so you can have a lot of Lamin Manyan roads, but this one is specific to Busumbala, Nema Tindindo, Nema Wasulunkunda or something like that. You see what I mean? The same thing neither they go Birkama, Jida, Babanja or Birkama, Jida, Forest or something. So different names. So we want to love out that Sila Jamal that in for almost 2-3 years. You see, but at least Ning Bodo Lodaji, it will help. But the street addressing Ning, Ning was Sodara, imagine the second point here idea Mendi. It's a very good idea. We were not thinking along that line, but we learned something from that as well. Well, Nyentaka ka Fenko di ka reminder send. What is very important. But in the street naming keda address all London dro. I say Mari Fenkenol notify no as a notice key and all ko nyim ila Fenko. Na wala na nying assessment of minuba ke email or tale mobile or and everything. But the other thing we were thinking of is we're thinking of creating something on our website where people can be able to pay on the website. But we are also trying to get in touch with money transfer companies, you know, like Baluo, Yae, and all of them, so that people can be able to pay. Because you can pay your Navek through those ones.
Yeah.
You can Navek journal, you can buy AfriCell, you can do. So we also want them to be able to, people to be able to pay for their their land rates. You don't need to send the money to family. I don't. Coming in for Gambia, corruption mandang official demand. That's what bail kon. Abe bla bail do. So ikaki modo ejikita wala aka fo anem problem do le selata nyoka mutum o sembo wartati so mfana ngadu ndot aja. So that is but mean thinking is a good suggestion. I got an idea from there. So Hanatra would data bembul. Ninga data so you can send an email to everybody and say Allah Fenko. You can do a group email, general email, Kafumoleko, Eller rate Joe ato sita. Yeah. But yalo nimmole a Joe saying that then you need a separate email to confirm receipt. Because no one then Nico general killer dolba receipt was already after. Yeah, Joe already said I paid. Yes.
Whoever
paid.
Or I have paid. That's proof of my receipt.
Okay.
And then those who haven't paid, then they will be able to pay.
That's
how you send a general email.
Yeah.
You send it to everybody and alert.
Yeah.
So those who have paid,
they will come and they will respond.
Have paid,
Yes.
This is my receipt.
Very good.
And those who haven't paid, that will give them a time for them to pay, and you give them a time frame, like every financial year, for maybe 3-4 months before the financial year, you send that general alert.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So that's another important point, and that is to send general email and wait for the people to respond, and then if those who paid will obviously respond to say that I've already paid, and then hopefully you will omit those ones in the general list, and then send it to those that have not responded. But he made a very good point. I'll point him better about it. Well, I'm going to alert solono. Kafoya jole warema jo because ka kodo ki badingol yele badingol buka jo. So but ning alert ka sodo ke reminder ning ke notify ko ya jole warema jo be mol ma ko la. So amunda ñina mu kumoti bari ngam fonun tuba ko no men kumma reje ba ko wala ñenti ko kare on
ndala ko ñini ndede sanjaba ha ñini sanjaba ko yes dama ke sono ke AMC ko no sanjaba ko ndena ko nan ko la so ke so alkalo lo sanjaba so le an chalo so malum fali yo na fama
yes bodo
na dana yegge be ma
e bodo problème karma bodo problème yalo revenue molbe revenue dinon. So KMC wants to maximize their revenue. So you can do nothing, and then because there is no definitive line, member voila,
they are limited.
West Coast, then go. Boundary manso. So you can blood alternately. Someone said this to me in Denmark, in Norway. I could KMC canale a charge no but the DAC. Guys, I even mingle. If it'll about choose lay after you love a mill. You see what I mean? Because the thing is, Nima Jo KMC based on Sambala Kotle, Waram BAC based on Sambala Kotle. But neither a court you have a defense. Well, I'm in the Baranga joining group gold because no kite over the world. You see what I mean? Ninja no going and I go, no. So near Sambako, no defense control, it's a will bypass no. Because Mapo Tijemi Afoko, borderline of the in a problem. So last time, Nafon on Talibi and Guy Memingal and Betala and Nalaino Ninjibe. Nangan Corrado Diatola. Member Baleo Dindro. You don't remember Balano Diatola. Nako in a form of Yalon Diamo Banda. Nafolina, but Manna time also, okay, but in kind of Nubra. Nagada. Ning LRR tema woti je biko balen kundu tema so kalaji bale biji so ni wol ko ibn ala collecting na be futela ari KMC woto be nyubala le kan namira lamen doron nen abu ko space baso de but ni won den the other areas ba ko ni santa be ka lo ikadune be ka lo abuko fanan one side be KMC
the other side officially is for the call abuko belenka but you know slowly be banga do KMC then I was confused
Nebo ipaji bela le don ni la kaitol bala la ko la kaitol KMC adani nyanda jola KMC
ogola ya slowly ndobe da abuko la side officially
ani be abuko la side ni be KMC sila dole bije teng tema teng ni bo e teng be KMC le ni ba e teng be wala borderline but KMC
ndola slowly
you know that's from Darboe
yes
all the way down to
the other road that yes Silonyi ngere na yes
so this side is Abuko, this side is
KMC okola même fon fonida ni boundary jibe ni wo complicate day man for the election part You know me baby jawol be kara voting na KMC le. You know me beten dole na voting na thing. And then so in KMC election will be there. Look at vote for KMC. You don't vote la West Coast. They don't even know where they. But if I play, I'm in West Coast, but I vote in KMC. It's a big problem because I see la polling registration blado. You don't learn the KMC le. You don't me baby ma phone a poll be ta register je.
Yankuba. Left in Lingala, Lanso Lembe, and I never airport. Ha. You know, you have a 2 empty land there. Whatever is on your left side, whatever is right side.
Yes.
Landing up long to is it long to KMC or
Maybe no.
That is never airport.
Ha.
Is that a coastal?
Because no all lands will be West Coast.
But question is it for the area council or is it belongs to the government?
So the other side thing, military side, the woman soldier will la ma from water. So the other space thing, you see, there's a bit of a dispute going on there. Nita de Jeba Ibe Bodo Tarlaje says VDC. VDC said it is theirs. The central government said it's theirs. The army said it's theirs. Agriculture said it's theirs. I don't know who owns those places. But one of the problems we have at the problem on the minister of Birkama area council, council found time kenol min. Puriyo found la data found taraje wala found problem. And me o problem o wala nyinduko successive council e ka kenol dilale e ka kenol mutaje ka kaytol found dilale bi ka kaytol take care properly. So mostly nka kenol minuje mostly a marsewolu aning car park kenol because yundum fango na understanding me ma je filo ning airport o tema wo fital vedame football filo beje kene bale beje me alon ko yodi cancel la cancel la kenol. You see what I mean? So what can I see in so many places? What we are also doing is na kenol bedaw dambe try kan neka inventory on most of them, and also as a council we are doing some land banking. So no keno moy dulado sometimes katala nga sang then nga di community la maybe they can build a community center or recreational center or something to benefit the community because malavi kenol beka tatala la nyama manfenso. So some other places so we are trying to fight to help them with Badeko. So you have Sukuta Nema is one of those, Bakar somewhere in Berkama and some other places. But it's all because of the lack of proper planning. You know, Gambia ning molbe kordanyo le tolu ani go jamu silology sa fo mbadonga loaka. You know, it's a lot of a problem for us. You know, it makes a lot of our settlements informal instead of formal settlement. So the transition and changing those informal settlement to formal settlement is another big problem. You know.
The problem is physical planning.
Yeah, the problem is physical planning. And no, at the heart of the problem is corruption. Simple as that.
So, I want to ask this question or make a recommendation for that matter. Because, following the revelations at the commission that has been instituted, we realize that most of the funds have been diverted. Yes. And like you said, these people will collect them, some of them will say that they are business and the rest will be diverted by their own youth. So why not, do it in this way that physical cars will not be collected? Like in Gambia now they have what we call names and other things, whereby people can be paying their names, for the bank by themselves, and maybe the receipt and the enforcement can be done by themselves.
We are encouraging that. The problem, is bedame wala mo jamala wave ni daraji wave magara ni wave kine do ne salo haji kandiro wala video do wana ka tambe wala jam so ni ko tabba problem dan do bank fana ni ta bank ka kiumen daraje o ka ne le tab ka volen ni abra haji den sakoni be GT bank dele kadale hello ne barare
can stand there for 2 hours 3 hours nothing happened.
GT bank fana na cashier be fam bi sen dela de so it's a lot of so min keda I coming for one of the Nimam Bulamundo. So he has getting Carol coming Kumara, coming collector, Namenge commissioner, coming for collector, need that a could collect, coming Nego Cordat, Levia, Yelulu collect. Tamomin Raje, the phone in Weta. I could sign why not Kakata Molka Joroke Bank, and then so that they don't give cash to collectors. Yes, that's a very good one. But Minketa, Mofanan trial about problem Jamalakataji. Problem follow Kagamin, the Nico Mulia, Vulila, Swol Coneta Bank. Nita the bank here, Cuba, Taraje, Okatarega, when you do Foyam and Doma Hajsorova, Okatareta Mita. You know, patients need. So I mean finance suggest well the yellow mulka wave sorol these wallets. Wave BJ, APS BJ, and then Yona and many others have wallets. But the main problem with the Mojamala wallet or Kodom Ganaja, who got a Haji Kandino off that Niji. Neo for that Nigeria, Akatami. So Nico adjoining wave law of one another big problem on. So Ibajala.
Keba Kajebe, this man is going there. Atata Jele. Keba Katajele. Yes. Keba. Keba, you damn you for that will be it.
Move Alamaya Motota. And the Mobile pay fine. But in a fine. Not more than a small, but if I'm the Indian family, we don't know.
We need to have a next officer for diaspora because it's a big constituency in the region. So responsible for diaspora.
I'm coming there.
This is very good. This is a very good idea. It's going to make it different. A good idea now for that. So maybe I use direct diaspora process. Contact person. Every problem with the council or in the region will go to him. Point of contact there in the website. So we'll have carpenters, many of them will be registered on our list. And then what carpenters Lela rating lela based on the feedback. So ninge nume refire nume ko karam bandel du sabo di. Ma ngi melni kuy ba lo sax. Ni ko def ay ko ko bala ga yede do ga. Yo aba ko wala ko taw la yo. That's what I know. No, I'll put up in that. You because this is good reminder. I might find a cultural movie where they point that we dedicate to the diaspora representatives. That's a deal for the council. One day, in 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏. In a local one of oil, the rugby one of 𝒂𝒂𝒄𝒏.
Hello. Mama, take him out.
Maybe I like it.